6 months have passed since I initially reviewed this helmet, and in that video I promised a longer term follow-up to let you know how I found the helmet riding it for longer distances and in varying weather conditions. Now I've had the opportunity to do that. What have I discovered? That initial review was mostly riding in good weather. So has the cold and wet weather thrown up any challenges for this helmet? One point that I wanted to get across in the original video is that the Concept has a very slightly different fit to the C5 and the E2. It's a little more oval than the other helmets, which meant that it was the first Schuberth that offered a comfortable fit for my head shape. I also like the compactness of the shell, which gives the helmet a light feel when you're riding and helps prevent fatigue on long days in the saddle. Over the last 6 months, of course, we've seen a little bit of bedding into the internal liner, and what that's done has just made the helmet that little bit more comfortable. The neck roll in particular offers a snug fit, and it's excellent at keeping out drafts when the temperature drops. Now, noise, as we know, is a somewhat subjective topic. There's a lot of factors involved, but I found this actually to be a genuinely quiet lid. With my Ultimate Ear molded earplugs, it is a place of peace and tranquility. On the move, it's proved to be very stable with minimal wind noise, and that only picks up when the vents are opened, but that's the same for any helmet. Occasionally I do get a very light whistling sound with the visor on its way up. It's very faint, it's not annoying, and I have to admit that that does seem to be dependent on what bike I'm riding. Up until now, the AGV Tour Modular was probably my favourite flip front helmet, but the Concept shell is and does feel more compact, and that makes a real difference in everyday riding. Once we got into winter and the temperatures started to drop, I'm happy to say that this helmet continued to perform well. There's been a tiny bit of fogging, but only at the very bottom of the visor, and that, to be honest, has been more of a condensation issue than kind of a fogging. It's never breached the seal of the pin lock on here, so it's never got up into my eyeline at all. On those occasions, a quick flip into that first open position clears it very quickly, but generally it's never really been a problem. The visibility is excellent on this helmet with Class 1 optics for both the visor and the drop-down sun visor. The seal around the visor has worked flawlessly, and I've had no ingress through the top of the visor at all in even the heaviest of rain. The upper chin vent here I've found to be effective rather than exceptional, but it's largely there just to push air up onto the visor, which it does very well. The top vent is very, very good once, of course, you've retrained your instinct for the reversed switch action. Pretty much all the helmets I've ever worn or tested have vents that open when you push them back. This one opens when you push it forward. It just takes a little bit of getting used to, but it does flow a ton of air through the top here, and it does make a real difference. Everything still feels tight and well made, no rattles, squeaks or creaks. One issue that I did experience with the C5 and the E2, and something that was widely reported by other owners, was a tendency for that chin bar to very easily pick up stone chips in the paint finish. I have to say that they seem to have solved that problem on this helmet. I actually don't know whether they've done the same with the C5 and the E2. I assume they have changed the way that they apply the paint, but I've had no issues with this at all. It still looks pretty much as good as the day I took it out of the box. All the mechanisms, the opening for the chin bar, the sun visor, etc. are all still smooth and working as they should, but to be honest, that should really be expected. One of the issues that I've always tended to find with modular helmets is they can feel a little bit unbalanced when the chin bar is up. That is not the case with this. I think because the chin bar sits nice and close to the helmet, the weight balance is good, and it's a comfortable helmet to use in the raised position at low speeds and when you're stopping for petrol, etc. The switch to lock it into the upper position on the side is easy to use, and that's been reliable, although I must admit I don't use it that often. But in the times when you want to ride away and snap this shut, it has engaged first time every time. I've had no misengagements, no risk of that coming open. That has worked really, really well. The drop down tinted visor, as I mentioned, offers really nice clarity of vision. But on those odd sunny winter days when the sun is low, it could do with being a bit darker. That of course is a very specific scenario. It doesn't happen that often, so I'm not going to mark the helmet down on that, because for year-round use, the majority of the time, the tint on this visor is perfectly acceptable. As I mentioned earlier, this helmet has knocked the AGV Tour Modular off of the top of the list of my favourite flip front helmets. Why? The comfort is actually quite similar, although this helmet is not quite as wide on the temples as the AGV, so for me this is a slightly better fit. But the Concept is quieter, it has a better top vent, and importantly it's more compact overall. I know I've mentioned that quite a few times in the video, but it is for me an important thing. When a helmet feels compact and manoeuvrable in your head, it makes a real difference. But you're not sacrificing anything with this. There is still plenty of room in the chin bar, which was something initially I was worried about, and it's proven to be no problem whatsoever. But I hear you say, what about the negatives? Because this does sound all very positive. Well, there are a few niggles that I've found. The top vent switch direction is a little odd and counterintuitive, so that does take a little bit of getting used to. As I say, this chin vent here is okay. It does the job, but no more. If you're expecting tons of air to come flowing through the front of this with this open, then you will be slightly disappointed. But it does keep that visor clear, which is its intended purpose. I did discover that the visor doesn't stay in the up position at higher speeds. It will drop shut. Now I don't know if that's by design or whether the springs on this visor are just not particularly strong. To be honest, it hasn't bothered me, as I wouldn't ride with the visor up at those kind of speeds anyway, but it is something that's worth pointing out. Outside of those few things, there's very little to dislike. Everything has worked as it should do, and it's held up well. Obviously, one downside for some could be that it isn't compatible with the SC2 integrated comms unit. But on the flip side, that for me is also a positive, because for one thing, it reduces the price of the helmet because it hasn't got all of the gubbins fitting inside if you don't want it. And secondly, it leaves you free to use any intercom system that you want. And of course, being UA certified, you can take comfort that the helmet was safety tested with external comms in place. So in answer to my opening question, after a further 6 months of use, what are my thoughts? Well, I'll be honest, and I've already let the cat out of the bag earlier, it has become my favourite modular helmet, which is not something that I expected. It's not perfect, no helmet is, but for me it's closer than a lot of the others that I've used. The combination of comfort, quietness and clarity of vision means I rate it highly, and when you factor in the list price of £399, it seems like a high quality helmet at a decent price. So if you've tried Schuberth modular helmets in the past and haven't got on with the fit, this may well be the solution that you're looking for. And I think it offers a really good helmet whether you're touring, commuting or just doing some general riding. It ticks pretty much all of the boxes. If you do have any specific questions, then let me know and I'll try my best to answer them. And all that leaves me to say is until next time, thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.